Welcome to the Photo Banter podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gagne, and on today's podcast, I speak with Ed Varites. Ed is one half of the photo representation agency named John and Ed, where along with his business partner, John Kenney, they represent top working commercial photographers and directors such as Gary Land, Crisman, Kate Woodman, and Sam Barker, to name a few. In this interview, I speak to Ed about his path to becoming a photo rep, partnering with John Kenney. I also speak to Ed about how he and his roster of photographers have been approaching marketing their work throughout the pandemic. Ed is someone who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in the commercial photography business, so I was excited to get a chance to speak with him and better understand the perspective of a commercial agent. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks so much for listening. Cool. Ed Varites, welcome to the podcast. Second half of John and Ed. Had John Kenney on already, so excited to talk to you. But I guess to start off, man, been a crazy year with the pandemic and stuff. How's kind of business for you guys, your photographers? Do you feel like things are kind of starting to pick up? Is there more kind of bids coming in, or how's kind of work for you guys been lately?
Yeah, so I mean, we've kept our finger on the pulse. Obviously, everybody was doomsdaying about a year ago right now, right? So,
Yep.
we did do some shoots during COVID. We learned a lot, obviously, about the remote process.
Yep.
It's actually kind of been trickling in. We've always been positive, but now we've been bidding. We've been bidding some nice jobs. And everyone I speak to, all our producers and everybody, they're pretty optimistic that the work's going to come back. So
yeah, definitely. That's kind of been talking to my friends and stuff, and I've been starting to pick up a little bit. It seems like people are kind of getting used to shooting during these crazy times. It's getting better, but yeah, it's been interesting for sure. I guess to go back, man, I was just kind of curious, like, where do you grow up? Like, what were you kind of interested in growing up? Like, did you always kind of view yourself kind of getting into the creative space, or what was kind of life like growing up?
yeah, it's so fun. Well, I grew up in New Jersey, in Bergen County, New Jersey, North Jersey, which it was. I mean, I had an awesome childhood. I played sports. I was big into sports, football and baseball. Still am. I just, I wish I could have gone pro, but not even close.
Mets or Yankees, man? Are you?
I'm a Yankees fan, but I'm a true one. I had a Don Mattingly jersey, man. So
Right.
but DJ became my number one. As because I kind of grew up with him as we're pretty close in age. So yeah, but I mean, I was there. I was there when it was nobody in Yankee Stadium. My dad took me to games. There was nobody there. It was it was sad for a while.
Yeah,
and then
man.
I'm a New York Giants fan, diehard Giants fan. So.
Nice. And then, like, what were you kind of interested growing up? Like, did you ever kind of get into photography yourself, or how did you kind of find yourself in the creative realm, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a funny story. I'll give you the short version. Photography was kind of on my radar a bit. I mean, I was really into film. I still am very much into film. I love everything film. So when I was going to college, I mean, I come home in the summer. Obviously, North Jersey's so close to the city, so I had a couple internships with some independent film companies, just doing the dirty, just
Stuff.
get the intern. I
Yeah.
mean, I used to do like castings for extras and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated college, I had to make a choice. I was like, quote unquote real job or stick with what I kind of love. So I got a job with the independent film company I was interning with. But unfortunately, the movie lost the funding and bye job. So I got a job at a media agency, which was good money, but just mindless cubicle stuff, right? And lucky for me, my dad, he was in finance, and he had crossed paths with John. I think they might have gone to a couple bars together, and. And when I was talking to him, he's like, "Hey, I know John. He's like, I know you like, I know it's not film, and I know you're miserable, right?" And so, long story short is, we made the intro. I think it was at a bar, which was nice. I was about, I was just about 22 at the time or something, and the rest is history. John needed help with just kind of, websites, and I knew all that stuff. And he was like the legend who had all the contacts, and he still does. He knows everybody there is to know. So we were just kind of a great team, and that just kind of moved into, we kind of just grew together.
Because John was already repping photographers at that point. He kind of had his own shop.
John, I mean, we had Lars Tumbjork, who's a huge, amazing guy. Sean McKenzie, he told a lot of great stories when you had him on. Yep. I mean, he had all like the heyday of the still life guys. I mean, all that, he knew all that kind of crazy industry time when, money was no object. And so I kind of came in like right when that was ending and digital was starting.
Yeah.
That was some of the first calls I fielded were like, hey, you guys know how to use a digital digital camera? You guys shoot digital at all? Which thing, that's insane to even think about now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we kind of grew together, and then we moved into, I was really psyched when motion became a part of everything. Like I said, I mean, I love that. I love, every job now has a motion aspect, which is, I think it just kind of, it makes everything a little more interesting,
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of our guys are directors in their own right. So that's exciting to me. And that's what kind of keeps me going.
Because you say before, like kind of teaming up with John, like you're kind of working more in the like motion and kind of independent film space. Like when you kind of transition to working with still photographers, is that kind of like a learning curve, just kind of learning about like different styles of photography and kind of the landscape of that kind of business, I guess?
I did. Yes. 100%. And that's why I was lucky to have John. I mean, it's the typical, like, take you under my wing story. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know what an art producer was. I didn't know, I didn't know what agencies had what client, I was as green as they came back then. Yeah. I just, look, we need this, these guys do great work. You got to sell these guys to agencies. You got to go meet people, all that good stuff. And I just kind of learned through John and doing it, I mean, we joke, it's not brain surgery, right? It's just, it's all about connecting. And I love that. I mean, I'm a people person. I love to connect, and that's what really, I miss that a bunch just with COVID. I mean, obviously, Zoom's one thing, but, we love going out and meeting people, and, you go on set, there's excitement and all that, all that personal connection is what drives us. And that drives that's what the industry is about,
Definitely, man. That's like, I was going to ask you about that, because I think a lot of photographers been struggling and finding a way to like market their business during this time. Because I know for myself, like 90% of the jobs I've ever gotten is because I like pounded that pavement, went and met with some like agency or some magazine or whatever it may be. So this year's been kind of challenging. Like I've been doing some of those like online reviews or whatever and trying to do Zoom meetings, but like, how have you guys been approaching marketing your guys' photographers' work? And like, what have you kind of been telling your roster of guys, like how to approach this weird time, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we went from doing portfolio reviews, we'd show reels, all the in-agency stuff went out the door. All the printed stuff went out the door. Portfolios haven't been updated in a year, right? I don't know if the portfolio ever will come back, to be honest with you. I don't know who's going to do that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show probably of what the future looks like with how to present and et cetera. But I mean, we stayed on, look, we told the guys, you need to look at this as an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get new website, update, keep shooting, right? I mean, you're a photographer, you can go, you can still shoot in this environment. You can work on yourself. And then it's a combination of email blasts, LinkedIn, Instagram, anything to engage someone with new work. I mean, that's always been the key though. That's always the key.
You mentioned something LinkedIn, and I was been having this conversation with these other photographers lately, and I think it's a tool that a lot of photographers overlook. 100%. Is that something you guys utilize a lot, especially if you just pay the premium? I think it's like $20 a month, even if that, and you can literally like reach out and talk to like professional people,
100%. You can target, I mean, I can give. We could have a whole nother show if you want.
No, man, we got time. We got time. That's what we're here for.
I mean, as a photographer, you need to think about, okay, here's the work I have. What's the work I want to get? You need to have, there has to be a strategy to who are your clients, right? So if you're a sports photographer, that's easy. You make a list. I want to work for Adidas. I want to work for Nike. I want to work for, Champion. I want to work for, Fila, etc. Nike, everybody. You can go on LinkedIn. You can find these art directors, right? You go on, you say, hey, here's a link. I'd love to connect. If they connect, you're always looking for excuses, right? You need an excuse to contact someone. So you go on there, you say, look, hey, I love you got to be smart about it. You got to say, hey, I love that, I love the Kobe drop you guys just did. I'd love to, if you consider me for the next one. And you build those people up. Then you follow that person on Instagram, right? You find them on Instagram, you find their email, you got to wiggle your way into those people. And then guess what? Next time they're thinking, oh, who'd be good for this? It's like, oh, this guy hit me up. Let me look at this guy.
Yeah.
Now you got to be good, right? I mean, you can't, I couldn't do that with my iPhone shot.
Well, that's just the entry fee. You got to have good work. And then it's
everybody's good. Everybody can do the job, right? But it's really about those personal connections. And especially now, you're not going to go meet somebody at an agency or, you got to do it digitally. And LinkedIn's like the best way to do it. You can pinpoint, where the person's working right now. You can sign up for lists and stuff. Yep. They're never up to date. We have every list, we do all that, but LinkedIn's it's like real time. You can get somebody,
And someone made a good point of like, if you look at LinkedIn, like the creatives, art directors, as you know this, the advertising world, people move jobs like so much. And so art directors, creative directors, art producers, whoever, they like us, we want the next big campaign. They want their next job opportunity. So they're on there all the time, updating their profile, looking to see what new jobs are posted. So it's like people are there and people are looking, and it's like, that's something the last year I've been utilizing a lot more. Because I think I overlooked it for years.
I know a lot of people did.
Yeah.
For example, you go on, some awesome art director from Adidas posts something like a campaign. You comment on that. You say, hey, man, that's amazing. You message that guy. You show him, hey, I did something like that. Whatever it is, just an excuse to reach out. And a lot of photographers, it's not easy. It's a lot of mindless stuff, right? I mean, shooting a campaign is amazing, fun and money and everything else, but it's all that. I always joke, my guys are like, how do I do this? And I go, I'll get an intern. You need to have, you got to hit all those people, emails. It's tedious stuff, but it works. And that's how you have to dedicate time to it. You can't kind of poo-poo it and say, oh, someone's gonna find me. And that's what us as an agency does too. Obviously, I mean, we work. You got to work hand in hand. If you're looking for a rep, that may be one of your questions. But
it's like consistency. You got to be consistently outreaching, and it's something like I was busy the last 2 weeks, so I was just shooting, and then in the back of my mind, I was like, "Fuck, I need to like keep the train moving and like keep doing outreach." So that's like the days I have off. I'm like outreach, and 99% of it are people aren't going to respond. But that's just the name of the game,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big kind of metrics nerd when we do our emailers and stuff, and the success rate in anything of this stuff is like you wouldn't make it in the major leagues. You mean like 1% clicks, you're hitting home runs. So you got to think about it that way too. So you got to make sure that who you're targeting, it's worth it, right? You can't, if you're a sports shooter, you're not targeting Good Housekeeping or somebody else. You got to make those percentage and those metrics work too. So
what do you guys think about what do you guys think about like the paid list, like agency access and these like lists where you can pay for emails? Because it's something I talk about a lot. Like I have it now. I mean, but it's like a lot of times those emails aren't up to date, but I guess sometimes it's a good starting point just to find companies or stuff. Or like, what do you think? Is it a good investment for?
You know what? I mean, I won't mention anyone specifically, but
All
yeah,
right. Sorry, I didn't mean to bash
no,
you.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. Because I don't want to give.
Yeah. There's a lot of lists.
No one's paying me for this.
No.
I mean, you can call me if you're watching. It's a necessary evil. You have to. I mean, but what I do and what we do is, I mean, our contact list is super up to date. And I John and myself, we spent it's a lot of time
years
checking. And so you can kind of use one and check it against the other and tweak it. I think it's, especially if you're starting out as a photographer, that's almost one of the first places I'd say you need to get a list. You need somewhere, you need, a CRM you need customer relationship management for sure. You got to keep track. You can't email the same person 100 times in a week.
Which one do you guys use? I use HubSpot.
So we use Agency Access for sure. That's we've tried a bunch of them, but that one, they actually just they just updated their interface. It's pretty cool. They have actually they have LinkedIn is integrated into it now.
Yeah. So
you go to find a contact, you can, for most of them, I haven't been through every one of them, but they have a LinkedIn, their profile. So you can actually, that person is at, Woodman and Kennedy. But yeah, necessary evil. I mean, everything is a necessary evil. You really need to look at what your marketing budget is, right? I mean, that's important. I mean, I think a lot of photographers forget that this is a business. You're an artist, but you need to be smart, right? You can't, so you need to kind of establish a budget and say, okay, well, this year I need to do these things. I know I need to do these things.
Yep.
Have this much left over. And that's where, a consultant or a rep would be like, okay, well, what haven't we done? I mean, how's the promo? It's a longer conversation, but you need to be smart too. You don't want to waste money, on stuff that may or may not work,
Definitely. I think it's different for everyone at different points of their career. Like right now, like when I think of like marketing myself, cause I'm like still somewhat of a younger photographer and still trying to get my name out there. What I spend my marketing stuff is like one, shooting projects, and then two, like spending money to like travel to agencies. Like maybe I've gone to Wyden or gone to like Minneapolis and spending money that way instead of like, there's other platforms like Workbook or Ad Edge or whatever it may be, another place to advertise. But I think for me, the way I view it, I want to get in people's face first before I spend money. Maybe down the line, I'll do Workbook once my name's more established or something. But it's like, it's different tools and figuring out like what's going to work best for your budget at whatever point in your career, I think.
100%. And like I said, some of those things are nice to have, like Workbook, Ad Edge, those are nice to have.
If you can afford it, fucking put them in all of them.
I mean, that's what I say. Look, I mean, what, you have $1 million? Then you do everything possible, but you need to really look at, and every artist is different. So you need to know, like, if you're a food shooter, well, maybe you should be in those directories so someone can find you easier. There's not one magic bullet, for any of this really. But outreach and new work are the two things that you have to have, right? You can never stop shooting. If you want to maintain and grow and evolve, this is the number one thing I ever say to any artist. You cannot stop creating work, new work. Like I think I said earlier, you need an excuse to reach out. You need new series. You need some new shots. You got to Instagram. You can't, you don't want to be regurgitating stuff. You need it be evolving.
So you stay on people's radar. That's what like Instagram is. It's just like,
you have to. You got to be in those stories every day. Someone, boom. Oh, and what did Alex do? Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like after a while, it's just like gets in people's like subconscious. They just see it, and then when the time comes up, it's like, oh, boom! I've been seeing this for the last 2 years. Someone's following you, and then you finally get the hit for that job.
Yeah, and persistence, because so much is timing. I mean, you can reach out to the same art director for 2 years, right? And he just may not have something.
Yeah.
Maybe that that 10th time you reach out, he goes, oh shit, I got a perfect job for this guy. Almost forgot about him.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it. I mean, we've had a lot of artists and photographers, and even when you get big, you can never let up on this stuff. And, I know, Gary. Gary's the perfect example.
More than anybody, that guy's output is fucking insane. Like it's something to strive for. Like that guy is always grinding. It's wild.
He's like the world's most interesting man. I mean, when I have, I joke around with him a lot, and I say, he goes, I got to do something new. I got to do something new. And I go, Gary, when I'm telling you to calm down, that means you're doing a great job. Because even me, I'm like, hold on, I haven't even shown these last 5 things you did.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing energy that he has. And that goes for a lot of the artists that we represent. Mm-hmm. Everyone has good energy, and they're always creating stuff.
Yeah.
You can't sit around, I mean, not no one on our roster, but we know, other artists that, especially if they get big, they just kind of, you can't expect anything in this industry. You can't sit back and just wait for jobs or expect people to remember who you are or your work.
Yeah.
You
got to keep doing what got you there, pretty much.
You have to keep going. I mean, look at, anyone who's great at anything they do doesn't ever stop.
Yeah.
You have to be, you could do like, it's like the Joe Namath, Joe Montana. You had to they had to pull him off the field. Why'd you go to KC, man? You could have just retired. Those guys, you never stop. That's the number one thing. Always be creating. You need to, especially in this business. You see it now, even now, like Instagram now, Clubhouse, like we talked about. There's always these new things that keep popping. NFTs, you got to be on top of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. It might not work, but you got to be in it. You got to know about it, and you got to keep,
Yeah, I think it's easy. Like when those new things come out, like at first when Clubhouse came out, I was like, that's kind of weird. But I've been messing around with it, and Gary's been on it like every night, and I shoot the shit with him, and it's crazy, man. I've been having like conversations with great photographers. I was talking to this like producer from CBS that does all like their TV shows and stuff, and it's just like real conversations with people like you would. It's amazing. It's just like, I don't know.
It's funny you say that. That's another thing that. Like if there was a positive, there are definitely some positives to come out of this last year.
Yeah.
But one thing everyone needs to remember is like people want to be connecting with people.
Yep.
So don't ever think that you can't talk to this person, or you can't ask for help, or you can't ask a question. Yep. For the most part, people are way nicer and more helpful than anyone gives anyone credit for. Definitely. Right. So. And people want to help people.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you were saying with Club. Yeah, you can, it's crazy. You get, even I've gotten some, I've shot some crazy like DMs to people and they respond. I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah. All you got to do is put it out there what you want. Just ask the question. The worst they're going to say is no. But I guess like one thing I was kind of curious, like, how do you kind of view your role as like what do you call it? Like rep, agent? Like, I don't know. Everyone has different terms.
There's like a million. Yeah. No, I view it as a partnership.
Yeah.
That's, we're a partner. And one thing I like to say to like, to new guys or girls or whoever are wondering, like, how does this relationship work?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like a 50-50 partnership. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to give you all of my 50% every day. We're going to work together, but you need to give me your 50%.
Yeah.
So the things we talked about, like, there's been I don't think it's a misconception anymore because people have kind of talked about it, but like having, being with an agency is not like magic work,
No.
shows up. We're not magicians, right? Like, obviously you're going to be, your work's going to be great enough that we think it's marketable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just here. Good luck. It's got to be both, it's got to be 50-50, 100. We both are, both working just as hard to make connections and get jobs, I always say that, the hardest part is getting that phone call for a job. Once we're really good at that. I think you can ask any producer in any agency. We're so easy to work with. there's no egos. There's no, we're not, you know, putting our foot down on budgets and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just really it's about getting seen, and both, we need to help do that, and the artist needs to help do that. So
Definitely. It's interesting. Yeah. Cause I've, like you mentioned, that you guys are easy to work with. And that's what you want with a partner. Cause I've definitely had friends who've had reps and the client comes to them on the side, like, hey, can we just like work with you direct? Cause your rep's like annoying to deal with.
it's my nightmare.
Yeah.
That's the, I mean, obviously, it's not like, everyone loves us, but
Yeah.
most people do. But I mean, sometimes that could happen. That's happened once or twice, and you're just like, oh, and then you just learn from you, like what did I do? I don't, and then, you find out, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That person, you rubbed them the wrong way or something. But that's my worst nightmare. I never,
Yeah. Cause at the end of the day, it's a customer service business and you're trying to solve this problem, make it as easy as you can for whatever client and production you're working on, I guess. Cause like cause I know some reps, they'll handle estimates for photographers. Some reps don't even do estimating. They just do marketing. Like how does it kind of differ from photographer to photographer, the relationship on the stuff you do for them, or how does
not too much.
Yeah.
I mean, we're full service.
Yeah.
I mean, I can produce a job. I can hand it off. The thing that we're, known for is like, I'm really going to hold the agency or client's hand to whatever extent they need it to be held. And then, I mean, most of our shooters they all have great teams around them. We have amazing production support. So, I mean, I'll be like the funnel between all those things. It's case by case, but yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do too is, the reason you need me sometimes is because you can't handle all that stuff. You're not, you can't handle, getting the producer and doing all that stuff or whatever. So I just make life easy is my real job. I'm kind of like,
Yeah, because if your photographer's busy, they're shooting a whole week and they can't, they're actually on set. So you're handling the next job and just keeping it moving pretty much, right?
I mean, it's a lot of wrangling, it's a lot of like, you got to be very organized and you got to be you got to be very responsive. You can't let no email goes unanswered. I mean, there's all these, you want to make sure that, I mean, it really is like a customer service thing where you want the agency producer and the client to be like, oh, okay, I'm glad he's on top of this. I'm glad that, oh, I'm getting responses. Okay. Everyone's on the same page, also you got to make sure you're getting all the information. Some of these bids are huge.
Yeah.
Some of these shallots are huge. You got to make sure that, our production support and our guys are getting the right information and knowing, we got to write treatments. We got to, we got to get on Zoom. Now every call is a Zoom call. So you got to make sure everyone's, okay, we ready? The call's in 10 minutes. Get your questions ready,
Preparation.
So it's a lot of, it's just a lot of managing a lot of different moving pieces, but that's what makes it exciting too. So it's like,
yeah. Who were like some of the first photographers you started like working with when you kind of started repping their work? Like who were the kind of the first photographers you were kind of handling their shoots and stuff like that, I guess?
So the first couple, I mean, oh man, you're making me go back. One of my favorite photographers ever this was actually really fun. Do you know Jason Fulford?
Yeah, I do know his work. Yeah.
Yeah. He was with us right when I started, and it was an amazing. I haven't spoken to him in years, and if he's watching this, Jason, hit me up. We got an amazing Volvo campaign, global Volvo campaign that was with a TV production. So I produced it with Jason and his assistant. And we were on the set with Lance Bangs.
Okay.
Shooting Volvo commercial. It was
legendary.
It was crazy. So he was one of my first experiences where I was kind of still super like young but I was like, this is I can live with this, It was cool.
And what's like the relationship with, I guess, your photographers? Like, do you guys give input in terms of like creative, like, hey, you should be shooting some more stuff like this for your book, or you should like edit your website like this, or how do you view your role in like, I guess, the creative aspect of like curating the photographers on your roster?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that varies as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely involved in curating,
Hmm.
and it's really about, is this work right for any client? Is this what you do? Is this your voice?
Yeah.
Is this and we try, it's hard. I'd rather them ask me before they do it.
Hmm.
Sometimes we just get something and they're like,
Yeah.
I did this, and
Yeah.
uh, okay, like I don't know what I can do with it, but it's very collaborative. Everything is, I mean, for the most part, is very collaborative. And I mean, I don't pull any punches. I'll tell you if I don't like it, or I don't think it'll work, or I think
Hmm.
it's bad.
Yeah.
We're fortunate though. I mean, all of our people are pretty creative, and do crazy stuff, and are pretty prolific. So, but yeah, I mean, I help as much as someone wants or does not want me to help. Put it that way.
Yeah, because I'm
I'll,
sure. Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. Like the interesting thing about your job, man, I can't imagine doing it. Is you're dealing with 10 different personalities, and every artist, like it or not, everyone has an ego to some degree, and everyone knows what they want and stuff like that. So it's like managing all those different personalities. I'm sure some people want more feedback than others. Someone just want you to leave it alone. So it's got to be tough. Like it's got to be like mental gymnastics, like dealing with 10 different personalities.
it's so funny. It's like, it's the part of the job is, like psychiatrists for
Yeah,
sure.
dude.
It's like, I got to make sure I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings ever, right? So how do I frame this the right way?
Yeah.
But also be constructive and guide someone to making, smart choices about stuff, especially when, if a photographer is going to do a personal shoot or something. I would like the opportunity, and most everyone does kind of consult a
Hmm.
little to some extent. I'd like an opportunity to kind of, I always, we always say, hey, send me some storyboards. Like, what are you actually going to do? The one exception I mentioned Gary again. I mean, Gary just goes and does stuff, and and nine times out of 10, when he sends me something, I'm just like, oh shit, like, is this already posted on Instagram? I mean, I don't know if you saw the last thing he just did with that 1 foot God. He just
Dude,
posted.
and respect, man. This is why I know I can respect your guys' agency. Is Gary literally just shot that like 2 days ago? It's already, guys, on your website. It's on your Instagram, and you guys are like on it. So I saw, I was like, damn, they're doing it.
You will never. I will. The second you send me something, unless I'm in a car,
Yep.
I'm on. Boom. I'm like, no way. Like
Yep.
it's. I don't want to. Like I said before, timing's everything. I don't want to wait a day or a week.
Hmm.
Someone. It's got to. I want it out there.
Yeah.
To be seen, not. That's another thing. Some I know some artists, they want to hold stuff back. I think that's a mistake always. I think you should, if you have it, I get it into where eyeballs can see it.
Hmm.
Don't hold it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think I made that mistake early on in my career when I was putting my portfolio together. I'm like, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. But it's like, no, it's
It'll
never going to
never
be
be.
ready yet because it's just a constant, like, it's a constant, like, building process the further you go. Like, the photos I had in my portfolio 6 months ago are different from what I have now. And it's like always just kind of evolving, I think.
Yeah, if you do that, like it'll never be ready. I mean,
No.
we did Dan Escobar just did a new site, Sam Barker did, and we go, part of the process. He's like, it's not. I'm like, it'll never be ready if we don't overthink things. Is another huge, like, one of my philosophies. Like, the simplest answer is most likely the best answer or solution. I mean, it's like, don't overthink it. And especially with work, you're not setting this in stone. This is
No.
constantly evolving. This is not the last, this isn't the final printing of your work. This is going to continue to change,
Hmm.
with you. So it's like, that's why I always say it's almost like a stream of consciousness. Have your stuff out there.
Yeah.
You Um, I mean, it's important. It's important.
No, definitely agree. And the question I'm sure you get asked all the time. I'm sure you have tons of photographers reaching out that are looking for reps or whatever. What is it like when you guys bring someone new on? Like, what is it you're looking for, and what's that kind of process to bringing someone on board, I guess?
All right. Well, I mean, we just
Chris,
signed
Chris,
amazing
Chris Crisman.
Chris Crisman. I mean, he's a perfect example of what is a dream partnership.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, we started talking to him just in COVID. I mean, he left his old rep, and we just had a real nice, casual kind of banter with him. We actually, it's funny. We actually bid against him a bunch in the past with Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Some, because he at the time is doing a lot of pharma stuff. He just to the point. I mean, he's an amazing artist. He's commercially marketable. Okay, so he doesn't have. I mean, there's a lot of a beautiful work out there, but you have to be able to sell it. You have to be able to buy it,
Yeah.
right? Third is he's like Gary. He's prolific. The amount of stuff he's an author. He's a writer. He's a director. He's a photographer. So it's like and he's like the greatest human being alive, which is no ego, no BS. You could talk to him like, I mean, by the time I think it was like Thanksgiving or Christmas came around, we had like a happy hour with him on Zoom, and this is we only just signed him like a couple of weeks ago, right?
Okay, so when you first started talking to him, what you said it was back in November?
Yeah, it was a while. Like at least we talked to him for probably about at least 6 months or so. So yeah, it was back maybe. I mean, like seriously, like having a conversation. Yeah, maybe like 6 months ago or something like that.
Mm.
And he's got this amazing team too. That's one thing we didn't talk about, but like it's not just us.
Yep.
A lot of successful guys. They're amazing people, but they have an amazing people around them.
Mm-hmm.
Gary has that. He's got an insane crew, tight. I mean, those guys all. I mean, everyone shares kind of a brain.
Yeah.
Chris has an amazing crew. He's got two incredible producers.
Is
and like
Robert still with them?
What's that?
Is Robert still producing with them?
Yeah. Robert and Jackie. I'll give a shout out to them. They're both. I mean, incredible producers, incredible people. Like you need people to lean on, right? Like constantly, not in life in general, but especially in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And a shout out to Mike, who's like his first, AD for everything. And we just hit it off, and it felt like a family thing. Like, and that's a lot with our artists are definitely family, because you're entering into like a partnership. You have to get along, I mean, we have had, in the past, there have been some rocky relationships, and, that doesn't breed success. You have to all be on the same team, and, not to get too like philosophical about it, but you kind of all have to share the same philosophy and a mentality about, how we're going to go attack, this industry and make a difference and make cool stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. You want to have the same goal, the photographer and the rep, like what you guys want to pursue and stuff like that. Crisman was wild, dude. When COVID first hit off last year, like literally like day 2 of the lockdown, he had like a video, like a high-end video showing like, this is how we're going to shoot remote. I was like, dude, how the hell did you even do this? Like, I was like,
I mean, that's the thing, that they're like him and Gary, or they're big, the big personalities that they want to be on the cutting edge of everything. I mean, that's so important. That's so important. And a lot of our guys. I mean, Kate Woodman she just sold an NFT. She's. I mean,
nice.
She jumped on that in a second. I mean, she's like super, one of the most intelligent people you ever talk to. So yeah, I mean, we like to surround her. It's all about people and connections. So we want the best of both worlds. You got to be, an interesting, caring person, and you got to be a great artist, and you have to be marketable. I think that's the key, because we can only do so much, and clients are only going to buy so much and relate to certain types of work, right? That's important to know too. If you're starting out as a photographer, and there are a ton of photographers now too, so you need, you have to kind of make a decision about like how you define success, right? So what is success to you? Is it making a lot of money? Is it making a lot of amazing work? Is it becoming famous? Is it, what is success? And then you got to pick, you need to pick, you got to pick a lane too. You know, you have to be, you know, you can be versatile, which is great, but you should have a look and an aesthetic that hopefully differentiates yourself from everyone else, which I know is, you know, of course, I mean, that's
hard to do.
Yeah, that's easier. Yeah, I was gonna say it's easier said than done.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know, but what we're looking for is like to be an amazing artist, marketable, and then very close, you know, second is to be an amazing person, and a good teammate. You know, you can't, like I said earlier, you can't just come in and say, okay,
yeah,
what are you guys doing for me? Where's the work? You know?
Yeah.
You know, because there are people, you know, you could be overbearing. You know, you don't ever do that. If you're, you know, that's another. I'll give you another tip there. Like I always get worried that like you don't want to like annoy someone out of a job, right? Like don't be. You should just be you know, kind of skirting on, you know, caring too much or seeming too desperate versus, you know, like I haven't heard back from you. I haven't heard back from you.
Yeah. Chill. Take it. Patience.
Okay,
Patience.
Like, it's on vacation, you know?
Yeah. And like one thing, you know, I think a lot of photographers, this is their worry when they partner with a rep. Like obviously you're representing not just one photographer, you have a group of photographers. Like, how do you balance marketing the work of like several photographers? Because I think like from the perspective of a photographer and talking to other friends, it's like, oh man, like obviously one guy's going to be making more money than other people. That's just the name of the game. It's like, are they going to forget about me? Are they working as hard for me? Like, how do you guys balance so many different people, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one thing that drives that, we don't play favorites. And actually sometimes we bid. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, but we may bid like one guy is in the bid with another guy. Key to that is just being transparent and always telling the truth. Don't, you know, everyone gets the same info, budgets stay the same. Hey, you guys, you know, knock it out of the park on your treatments and your calls. The decision will be made by someone other than us, obviously, right? So that's the key. As far as marketing goes, I like to think we do a great job of keeping everyone. It's hard because some guys give us more work than others. Like Gary's, I could just open up an Instagram for Gary, you know, and Chris has a million amazing, you know, shots of, he's got the women's work and everything. So it depends. If you give me new work, it's getting shown first, no matter what. It doesn't, you know, frequency is kind of a non-factor because we don't hold back stuff. So if you're sending me stuff, it's gonna get shown. You know, we do email newsletters at least once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Everybody gets equal billing on that. We'll do a per artist emailer as well, like as soon as they get enough to fill one up. So it kind of varies a little bit. But no, I mean, no one feels left out, you know, because that's our job, is to make sure everyone's, you know, equally represented and all the work goes out, you know.
No, that's good, man. It's like, it's just like you give them the work if your photographers give you the work, you're going to do the legwork on your end and just keep pushing it.
Yeah. That's like I said, that's my 50%, right? So you got all this great work. Yeah. Don't worry. It's going to get seen by somebody. I promise you, you know, so.
And like looking at the photographers you represent, it's a wide variety. Like you have some like product shooters, you have like lifestyle shooters, and, like all different types of photographers. How do you guys kind of view the type of photographers you bring on the roster? Because I know some agencies, they'll only represent like lifestyle photographers, and then some people will only represent fashion photographers. How do you guys kind of decide what kind of style, I guess, you're going to bring on, or is it kind of all over, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think the one common thread between all of our artists, I mean, they all we're kind of in that like commercial world. We're not doing fashion. We do a little bit of cars. Actually, Andre Duman has been doing some great car stuff. It's all, we would like to keep it a versatile group. So we would never be just some like, yeah, there are some agencies that are just, you could throw a dart at the wall and hit
Yep.
one of the lifestyle guys, and you're like, okay,
Yep.
he'll work.
Yep.
So any of the other ones, so we like to keep it that everyone has their own look and voice. And, one of the biggest compliments you can get when you do what I do is to have a producer kind of call you and say, I have this project. I know someone in your group could do it. Can you give me a recommendation? Because they know that, like, yeah, we have a good group of people who could definitely do it. Sometimes we'll fill holes. I mean, we don't do food and like I said, we don't really do high fashion stuff. It depends. I mean, if the artist is the right fit, it almost doesn't matter what their specialty is.
Yeah.
And one thing we also do is, I mentioned, like, being transparent is pretty important. We kind of poll the other crew and say, look, this person approached us, or we approached this person, here's their work. Are they up to snuff?
Wow. So there's like
input.
input.
Threatened? I like to know that. Do you feel threatened by this person? I mean,
yeah, because you don't want two photographers that are too similar and then they're kind of like bidding against each other all the time.
Yeah, for me, that brings, like, although it shouldn't really, but it kind of brings, like, a bit of a negative kind of vibe to how we're trying to get work. I don't know. It just not disingenuous, but yeah, I think if there's another, like, guy that just does, if you're always bidding against a guy, or it may bring a little bit of, resentment,
Yeah.
Like I said, that's why we kind of talk to everyone. And sometimes it could be the other way around too, right? I mean, you could argue that if you have two of the best, I'm just saying, car shooters in the world, then every car company is going to
hit you up. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
and then it divvies out at the end, it all kind of, it hits equilibrium. You're going to get the job through me, or, so yeah. I don't know which side of that is the
right one. Yeah, dude, it's hard, man. I can see it from both sides. It's interesting. It's like, yeah, you want everyone to be happy with where they're at, but it's like, yeah, that's a tough one. But I mean,
everyone, everyone has an ego and has feelings, right? So you want to navigate those. But also, I think, like I said, we have a really great relationship with everyone. So, if there's a problem, speak up. Like the people, everyone knows, they can complain about something or call us out on something. And we do the same. It's pretty fluid in that way.
No,
but we would kind of say to, hey guys, like, we're looking to sign this person. We don't have a big by the way, we don't have a big turnover at all. I mean, a lot of our artists have been with us for 10 years. We're not churning and burning artists every, couple months, or adding a ton of new people or so that's kind of part of it too. Like we always say, like, when we sign a new person or something, then they just join the family. So.
Yeah, no, that's a sign of a good agency when people have been there a long time. Cause I've definitely seen like some other companies. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of people jumping around a lot over there. So I don't know what's going on, but it's hard
to keep track of. That's hard. I know.
Yeah, man. And one question I was really interested in asking you, this is something I think every photographer struggles with. I'm sure you guys struggle with it. When you get the call for the job, like, how do you, like, first off, like, what are some questions photographers should be asking, whatever it's an art producer reaching out for a job? Because like pricing your work is like one of the hardest things to do. And it's like constantly changing. Like, how do you approach, like, when the call comes in for a job? Like, what's your process of like putting together numbers and stuff like that, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, this is like, the $1 million question, but what I do, and this is what everyone should do. And this is a tough one because the answer kind of will depend on your relationship with the person contacting you. But I mean, I ask, hey, what is your budget, and what is your budget range? And I'd say a lot of times, there are situations where they won't disclose it, or, you may bid it and then they tell you it, oh, no, we only have $5 for this,
Yeah.
But if you know the budget, then you can, I mean, almost work backwards and say, okay, let's say the budget's 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a 1-day shoot. The usage is typical a year or whatever. You say, well, okay, well, I can produce the shoot for 30 grand, let's say. I mean, let's say it's just an easy lifestyle shoot or something. And then you think, okay, well, yeah, I think $10,000 for the shoot day is fair for all of this library of images.
Mm-hmm.
And I need a prep and a scout day. And there's your 15 grand right there. And then you just back your way into a fair rate. That's one way to do it. I don't believe in set day rates at all. I mean, I really don't. You got to be careful with that too, because there are so many different reasons to take a job or turn down a job.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't like to turn down jobs, but the reason to turn down a job would most likely be because of the budget. And it would either be unfair or undoable, or we'd set ourselves up to fail, which is
you don't want that.
You never want to do that. You never want to take a job to just have a job. Okay. I mean, if a really amazing project comes along where you're shooting, on the moon, but they don't have any money, I'm going to take that job. They say we can cover your expenses because I want to show those images of me shooting on the moon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then there are also jobs where you're like, oh no one will ever see this, but it's good money.
Definitely.
So you really gotta, I mean, the first thing is there's value in every job. There's either money value or there's work value, and if you're lucky, it's both. And you shoot a dream campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you need to really weigh that into what you're doing. I mean, I would never want anyone to lose money, but I understand doing like a spec job or like, a job we only have, 10 grand to do, a day shooting. And that's what I mean. And this happens even with our guys. And I say, okay, what do they want to do? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something amazing. And you say, okay, look, you're doing this they're paying for an amazing personal series or test shoot. Think of it that way. Right. And there's other jobs where it's like, it's the most boring thing you could think of, but the client's got a ton of money. You say, okay, let's whatever, what's fair here is just, getting a good rate and doing a great job. And I'm not saying, the work's always going to look beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
definitely every job's like a negotiation. It's like a give and take. Like I had this happen last week, which was kind of interesting. This company reached out to me and their idea, they wanted to do like a 30-second spot for like this product or whatever. And I bid out the job, and to do it and like make a decent, not like I wasn't like butchering them with like price. I wasn't overcharging or anything. It was really just the logistics to actually make it happen. It was like $15,000. Sent them my estimate, and they're like, oh shit, like we only have like $5,000 to do this. Well, so I was like, oh yeah, unfortunately, I literally just can't do it just because of the logistics of like what they wanted. So instead of like doing a motion piece now, the whole thing is pivoted to like still shoots. So we're doing like a 1-day still shoot, $5 grand, and I'm going to make good money off that because it's a lot cheaper. Like it's not like I don't have to rent a red camera. I don't need to get a TP. So they still get content because it's like a social media campaign. So it's just kind of like figuring out a way to like navigate that and like still keep the job and make money. And like, I don't know, it's like a give and take every job, I think,
Well, 100%. And the other thing you always need to kind of educate the client and say, look, okay, how about I can do this instead? Or, the other thing, you can educate them and say, okay, well, this is what it should cost.
Yep.
You could send them, this is not a trade secret, but you send a full estimate and then you can like discount it to what their budget is. And they say, well, but this is what it actually costs.
Yeah.
You can say, look, no, if someone wants to do a broadcast spot, you should send them an AICP bid and say, yeah, well, this is $500,000, but I'm doing it for 20.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, just limit your usage on it, and if they want to, that way you can, don't make sure you're not giving usage away. So, hopefully you can make some of your money back in a year.
And that's not, usage. Do you find the usage thing is almost kind of going away? Because I feel like I've been talking that with a lot of photographers. They like sometimes you talk to certain companies or agencies and it's like talking about usage, like having two different line items. It's like, wait, what is this? Do you find that's kind of like going away, or like, what's your take on usage?
Yeah, they want. I mean, a lot of agencies now they want a lot of options, which is fine because there's ways so you can make that advantageous. You can we always are willing to negotiate better deals up front, etc. And then some clients, they want ownership. They want ownership. So, and I'm not an advocate for that at all. But I will say that's also a photographer's decision as it's their work. I won't name names, but we've done stuff for, it does not cheap.
No.
But you make that, okay, but that's like, that's Johnny's college right there. So they do ask for it. I think if it depends on if you can get the value for it and you can put yourself in, just a pure business state. And I'm not saying that's right, or I'm not saying that's wrong, but there's ways around that. A lot of, I think if you're working for a good agency though, that won't ever come up. That's more client direct.
Definitely. Yeah. That's kind of my experience.
Direct and that's you need to educate them too. I mean, and that's something you try first. You say, well, look, you don't need to own these. I can grant you license forever if you want. You don't need to own them. You're not, and a lot of it's funny because a lot of those clients are normally like clients that have like a new product that won't even be around in a year. Crazy. It's like you're going to have a new version of that in a year. So
it's like
you own it forever.
And that's like part of the job. You have to kind of educate them. Yeah. Cause that's like a lot of time it's like smaller agencies or like direct to client where they're not used to producing a ton of shoots. So like the language and everything is not something they're used to. So it's like kind of part of, I guess, your job to educate them, I guess.
Yes, especially if you're dealing with like a marketing manager or someone that's not a producer at a direct client.
Yep.
Which is actually kind of happening less and less because every corporation has like an in-house production house now. So, a lot of they're just like, no, what do you mean? Like, we own them. We're paying you. They don't know. Like, no. It's there's there's usage and the fees. That's a lot of like, what's the day rate?
Yeah.
It's like, we just walk away with everything. So there's a lot. I mean, there's funny. I have lots of funny. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it happens. Are you good on time? Are you good for a little bit longer?
We could definitely keep going.
Cool.
Man.
I'm just can we break for 1 second? I'm just gonna use the restroom real quick. I just had a couple more questions. I'll be right back. I guess like for photographers listening, like what advice you kind of give to them, like photographers that want to get into advertising, you might be shooting some editorial, they're doing jobs, but kind of making that leap into bigger production stuff. Is there like any advice kind of getting their foot in the door in agencies and stuff, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's a real tough one.
That's the hardest thing, getting your foot in the door at these agencies.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. You can find people very easily. I think you find, you can hit up some art producers. A lot of them, they're wonderful people, and if they have the time, they love new talent. And they'll help. But also, you can reach out to you can reach out to me. You can reach out to some reps. I would kind of gauge. You can ask for some advice, like, am I ready? What should I do with this work? You know what I mean? I think that you kind of need to know where to start. It's important. So, and you need to constantly build your body of work, which we talked about. But it's about perseverance, and I think cracking into an agency, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Do you think you should spend more? This one thing I always think about: should I spend more time marketing to the art producers, the art directors, the creative directors, obviously everyone? But it's like, what do you kind of think? Because obviously the art producers are one kind of in charge of, like, I guess, the logistics and finding talent sometimes. But I guess every agency is probably different sometimes.
Yeah. So once again, the answer is
I'm giving you the tough ones, Ed. I'm giving you the tough ones.
Yeah, that's all right, man. The answer is all of the above, all of the above. I mean, the agencies are so different. So at some agencies, like a creative director may not even be in charge of picking talent. They're managing other art directors, the client, or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Our producers, most of them are decision makers. Okay. Yeah. They're very, I mean, they're very overworked though as well. They're very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And they get millions of queries. You know, I'm sure they, so, we get a lot, but I couldn't imagine the inbox on especially if you're like, working at White and Kennedy or something.
It's like nuts.
I mean, everyone knows who those people are, right? It's like, so shout out to all of them and thank you for, responding to us every once in a while. Art directors. Now, I mean, the good thing about art directors is that they're looking for stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are young. So if you're a younger photographer, right? The young art directors, they're looking and they're looking for that new stuff. They're most likely on Instagram searching for stuff, right? There's different, creative directors are most likely more old school. So maybe LinkedIn works better for them. Mm-hmm. Art producers, a lot of them are on Instagram. You could find them on LinkedIn, obviously. You get, if you get their email and get a response, that's amazing. I mean, you could even try asking them for, it's so old. Zoom meetings are already kind of old now. People have like Zoom fatigue, Yeah. We've done a bunch of them. I mean, it's not like being in an agency, but you could maybe,
do whatever you can. Yeah.
You write a nice email to an art producer or an art director and say, hey, look, I love your agency so much. Like we talked about before, like I love that work you did on Nike. Mm-hmm. I'm building my work. I'd love to show it to you. Do you have 10, 15 minutes? I could just take you through my website. Yep. And you'd be surprised. Not everyone's going to respond to that, but you'd probably get a couple.
Definitely.
And it just takes it's like when it rains, it pours. So like an agency might be a hard egg to crack, but if you get in there and do something awesome, mm-hmm. then your name's in everyone's talking, right? Whether they respond to you or not, like, oh yeah, Jane Smith did this amazing job in this campaign. You should use her for that campaign. Mm-hmm. So it's all about the perseverance on just, not and then obviously, got to make sure. I would get some advice on what is your work like? How is it? Is it relevant? Mm-hmm. Is it marketable? Do you it might not be right for this agency or that agency or an agency. Some people are just, really great at doing editorial. Some people are just really great at doing, annual reports. You need to kind of evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
And then there are some photographers who are just not getting the right shot, or they're not getting the break that they should be getting. And that's kind of what a consultant or a rep or someone would help you, would be like, okay, like, yeah, you're not, you need to be doing this because the work's good, Yeah,
they help you kind of target and kind of create a plan and just figure out what clients and your work will fit with, I guess, is like the big thing, instead of just kind of sending it to like whoever, pretty much.
Yeah. And we always ask, like, okay, like, give me a dream, like, I want you to engage, right? So give me your dream list of clients.
Yep.
To everyone, to anyone who would, even ask that question. Who are you, like, what do you want to do? A lot of mistakes that young photographers make is that they don't know what they want to do, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just say, I want to work for an advertising agency. You need to say, okay, well, this is the work I want to do. And then you need to evaluate, well, what does that mean? Is it an advertising agency going to buy into that? Mm-hmm. Or should you be a fashion shooter? Should you be a celebrity shooter? Should you be a car shooter? Advertising agencies have so many weird clients, and you might get a job or two just because of the breadth of what people are looking for. But you need to really think about what are you shooting? What do you want to be doing? You can't just say, I want to be a commercial artist. You have to say, okay, and you got to stick at it too. I mean, you can't, it's a long road. It's not, I think there was a little time frame there with like the whole Instagram thing where, clients were just hiring like,
Oh yeah.
just like anyone that had an iPhone. I think that's passed.
I had like some art producer friends who like they couldn't handle it anymore because it's like
one more sepia tone, filter, please. Is like it's kind of heartbreaking because it's like, it cheapened everything all these photographers have been doing when a bunch of guys are graduating, college and just they have they're an influencer now. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's two different things. It's like doing what like Gary and like the photographers on your roster do, like Crisman, is completely different. It's like handling a production and like producing all that stuff is way different than just posting some picture on Instagram. And I don't know.
Absolutely. There's a lot that goes, there's a lot that goes into it. As you know, a production's it's very stressful. You've got the client, waiting for you to pull off a miracle.
Yeah,
the agency is linked to the client, so you can't, there's a lot of pressure.
And the job is always changing. Like every advertising job, it's like they come to you like, we're going to shoot in Chicago and we're going to do this, and then by the end of the week it's like, yeah, we're going to Atlanta, and the creative direction has changed like 9 times since then.
Oh, well, we get a lot. It's like things change right up until they change on the shoot.
Yeah, and that's the skill, being able to like roll with those punches, I think, and this like being able to take a good picture.
Keeping them happy. You got to keep it, but you gotta be careful because one thing I do know, you artists, you guys just love that. You guys don't know the word no. I always tell my guys, I got repeat after me. Try the word no. Say no.
Yeah.
You guys want to make everybody happy.
Yeah, man. I'm trying. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better year by year. But yeah, it's just picking your places, I guess. But I guess like wrap up, like, what do you think it is about like working in this business you enjoy, and then also like what is it about you and John that you guys been able to stay working together for so long? Because that's like that's a feat in itself, being able to run a business with a partner for so many years.
Yeah. No, great questions. Well, John and I, our relationship is just, we kind of share a brain, and we're kind of, we're at 2 different stages in our lives.
Yep.
So, which some people, you'd think that would make it like not work, but it actually kind of does work. I wouldn't say father figure, but something close to that, a relationship kind of like that, where just like a mentor.
Yeah.
And we just, it's been so easy for so long. And obviously we get into, there's things that come up. He's like, F you. And I'm like, shut up, John, but but yeah, it's just been the same, we've been quote unquote partners now for a while, but it always kind of felt like that, from the beginning. He's just very easy guy to get along with. And I'm the same way, I think that's why a lot of people like us too. We're kind of, fun guys to hang out with. And like I said earlier, we're so easy to work with. There's no, you're going to get whatever you ask for. We're going to help you, so answer that. What was the first part of that question?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, overall, just like what is about this business, I guess. What do you enjoy about what kind of keeps you in it, man? Because this business it's crazier. It's getting more competitive by the day, but like, what keeps you on this crazy train?
It is a crazy business, and I think that's part of the reason that it's fun. It evolves constantly. Like we touched on that earlier. I can't sit behind a desk. Okay, yeah. I just can't ever see that. Although I don't think anyone's ever gonna have to sit behind a desk.
No.
I can't sit on Zoom all day. I'll put it that way.
No.
And I love people. I love meeting people. I love artists. I love everything that goes into, like creating something out of nothing. I think it's just like, not to dramatize it, but it's pretty incredible when you see something go from an art director's creative layouts to like an ad or a motion piece or a spot, and to have it like out there in the world is like inspiring. I love to see the artist kind of grow too, and like develop and become more well known. And a great example of that is Kate Woodman. her work's incredible. I mean, she's like, it's just incredible. And like people are actually really starting to like catch on to her. We've been bidding a bunch of jobs. It's been great. So she's kind of an example of someone we kind of like, are growing with,
Yeah.
and that's like really like satisfying.
Because when you brought Kate on, was she shooting a lot of commercial work, or is it just
Not a ton,
yeah.
not a ton. I mean, she's got an amazing body of work. I mean, she's shooting commercial stuff, but not not advertising,
Yeah.
so like commercial advertising stuff.
But you guys saw something in her work that was like, hey, we want to partner with her and like help her grow pretty much.
Oh yeah, she's just she's amazing. I mean, and she's different from everyone else. I
Yeah.
think in general, not just on our site. So
Yeah, that
um,
stuff's great.
she's got like such an amazing. She has like a cinematic feel, and she's just very. She's very smart. Her lighting is. I mean, most of that's in camera. I mean, she's incredible.
Yeah, that stuff's great.
And she's like a master. She could teach Adobe Photoshop if she needed to. She's crazy,
That's awesome. Well, Ed, man, I'm glad we connected, dude. I think
Yeah, man.
I think people will really appreciate this. I know it's always good just kind of hearing other people's perspective in this business, and like the people working commercial photography, the collaboration between photographer rep. It's an interesting ride, but I really appreciate you kind of give us some insight into your world, man. I know I learned a lot, and I think people will appreciate it, man.
Oh, I hope so, man. Yeah, reach out. I'd love to. I'd love to keep talking to you, and yeah, I'd love to do this again. We can maybe do a panel or something for you.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Thanks, Ed.
All right, man. Thank
Our
you.
So there you have it. That was the Ed Varites interview. Just want to thank Ed so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. It was a real pleasure talking to him about his journey and his kind of experience working in the photo business. Definitely has a unique perspective being a photo rep and working with so many different photographers and working on all different types of commercial projects. So I know I learned a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely go check out Ed's website at johnxed.com. You can check out all the roster of photographers and directors they represent. Really amazing work up there, as well as definitely go give them a follow on Instagram at John_X_Ed. I'll put the link in the description, but definitely go give them a follow. They're always posting up new work and projects from their photographers on their roster, so definitely worthwhile checking that out. And as always, I'll be having weekly podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as the Photo Banter YouTube page. So thanks so much for listening, and take care.